What would you do if a little girl walked into a police station with nothing but a dog at her side and whispered 5 words that shattered the peace? It's a story filled with heartbreak, courage, and a bond between a girl and her dog that would change everything. Here's what happened to IT was a typical morning at the police station. Officers sat at their desks, sorting through paperwork, answering calls, and going about their usual duties. The station was quiet, the kind of calm that only comes before something unexpected. Outside, the snow gently fell, blanketing the streets. In white, a serene contrast to the chaos about to unfold. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and in walked a little girl. Her eyes were wide with uncertainty, and she clutched the leash of a large dog tightly. The dog, a calm and sturdy German shepherd, walked beside her, its steady presence offering an odd comfort in the otherwise tense atmosphere. The officers looked up, confused. A small child? Alone? The girl hesitated for a moment before taking a small step forward, her fingers gripping the dog's leash tighter. The officer on duty, Detective Harris, raised an eyebrow, his curiosity piqued. What was this little girl doing here? Why was she alone? And what could possibly bring her to a police station on such a cold morning? Detective Harris stood from his desk, his footsteps echoing through the otherwise quiet station as he approached the girl. Her head was down, her dirty pink dress torn in places, and her cheeks were streaked with tears. The dog at her side seemed to sense the gravity of the situation, its alert eyes scanning the room as if it, too, was waiting for some kind of instruction. "Hey there," Harris said gently, crouching down to meet her eye level. "What's your name?" The girl hesitated for a long moment before whispering, "Lily." "Lily, where's your mom and dad?" he asked, his voice soft but laced with concern. The little girl's eyes filled with more tears, but she shook her head. "I don't know," she murmured, her voice trembling. Harris exchanged a quick glance with Officer Malone, who had quietly approached and was now standing just behind him. They both noticed the tight grip Lily had on the dog's leash. It was as if the animal were her lifeline, her protector. The tension in the air was thick. "You're safe here, okay?" Harris reassured her, trying his best to keep his voice calm. "Do you want to tell me what happened?" Lily looked up at him, her eyes wide with uncertainty. She opened her mouth to speak, but before she could form a sentence, her voice barely above a whisper, she said the words that sent a chill down everyone's spine. "I need to see the chief." Something about the way Lily spoke, so quiet, yet with an unshakable determination, made him pause. He gave a small nod to Officer Malone and gestured for them both to sit down in one of the waiting area chairs. "Lily, what happened? Why are you here alone?" Harris asked, his voice gentle but firm, trying to make her feel as comfortable as possible. That Lily's fingers curled tighter around the leash, and she looked down at her feet. For a moment, it seemed like she was lost in her own thoughts, her eyes unfocused. The dog beside her, a German shepherd with intelligent, watchful eyes, nudged her hand gently, offering a comforting nudge. Harris could see how much she relied on the dog, and it was clear that whatever had brought her here wasn't easy for her to talk about. Finally, Lily spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. "My mommy and daddy, they're not okay." Harris leaned in a little closer, his heart tightening at her words. "What do you mean, sweetheart? Are they hurt?" Lily shook her head, her expression sad. I tried to help them, but they're not waking up. I had to leave. I couldn't do it alone." Her voice cracked as she spoke, and she began to cry silently, her body shaking in small, quiet sobs. Detective Harris felt a chill settle in his chest. Something was terribly wrong. But Lily wasn't finished. Through her tears, she added the words that sent a shiver down his spine. "I ran with Max to find help." Max, the dog, was more than just a companion. It was clear that he had been her protector in this terrible situation. The bond between them was undeniable. Harris, heart aching, put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We're going to help, Lily," he promised, his voice steady. But inside, the urgency was rising. Something had happened. Something terrible. The only sound was the quiet sobs escaping from Lily as she clung to Max, her loyal dog. Detective Harris sat still, letting her cry, giving her the time she needed to collect herself. The pain in her eyes was unmistakable, and it was clear that whatever she had witnessed, it had shaken her to the core. After a few long moments, Lily wiped her eyes with the back of her sleeve and looked up at Harris, her face streaked with tears. Her voice was barely audible, yet it carried a weight that made Harris's stomach tighten. "They're not coming back," she whispered, her voice breaking as she spoke the words. The room seemed to freeze. The words hung in the air, heavy and heart-wrenching. Detective Harris's heart sank as he absorbed the gravity of her statement. He exchanged a look with Officer Malone, who was standing nearby, his expression grim. "What do you mean, Lily?" Harris asked gently, though he already knew it wouldn't be good that Lily's small hands trembled as she stroked Max's fur, her eyes focused on the dog's comforting presence. "Mommy and Daddy, they're not coming back. I left them. I couldn't wake them up." The officers stood motionless, a sense of horror settling in their minds. They knew that this was no simple case of abandonment or neglect. The look in Lily's eyes told them everything. This wasn't a child lost or confused. This was a girl who had witnessed something unimaginable. Detective Harris's voice was soft, barely above a whisper as he spoke again. "It's okay, Lily. We're going to get help." But even as he spoke, he felt a deep unease. Time was running out. "Malone, get on the phone with the medical team. I need backup." Harris barked as he stood up, already heading toward the door. He turned back toward Lily, who was still sitting quietly with Max at her side. He gave her a soft smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You're safe here. Just hang tight, all right?" Officers moved swiftly, each knowing how critical the situation was. Harris couldn't shake the image of Lily's tear-streaked face, her small body trembling with fear. As he hurried to the squad cars, his mind raced. Where had she been? What had she seen? Harris was already dialing for a local paramedic unit, hoping for the best, but bracing for the worst. He couldn't imagine what had happened to this child, or what she had been through. "Let's move," Harris called as he climbed into the lead car, his heart pounding. The search had begun, and they wouldn't stop until they found answers. The search team arrived at Lily's house within minutes. Officers moved quickly, securing the perimeter and preparing to enter. The house, once full of life, now stood in eerie stillness. Detective Harris's heart raced as he stepped up to the front door, his mind unable to shake the chilling words Lily had whispered. "They're not coming back." "Call it in," Harris ordered, his voice tight with tension. The officer who had followed him nodded and radioed for additional support. Harris pushed the door open, and the team entered the house with caution. It was dark inside, the curtains drawn tight, and the air smelled stale as they moved through the house. It didn't take long for them to find the bedroom. The sight that greeted them was one none of them could have prepared for. Lily's parents were lying motionless on the floor, their bodies pale and still. The room, once a place of warmth, now felt cold and lifeless. The officers immediately called for paramedics. Harris knelt by the bodies, trying to process what he was seeing. The cause of death wasn't immediately clear, but it was evident that they'd been gone for some time. Outside, Lily waited, unaware of what was unfolding inside. Harris's stomach turned as he realized the depth of what this little girl had witnessed. The truth had come too late, but they would make sure she was never alone again. Hours passed before the full extent of the situation was clear. Lily's parents had tragically passed away from a suspected carbon monoxide leak in the house, an accident that had gone unnoticed until it was too late. The paramedics, though unable to save her parents, worked quickly to make sure Lily was taken care of. The young girl's worst fears were confirmed, but she was now surrounded by the officers who promised her safety, comfort, and support. Back at the station, Detective Harris watched as Lily sat quietly, the shock beginning to wear off as the reality of what had happened settled in. Max, her loyal German shepherd, never left her side, sitting by her feet as if he knew his job wasn't finished. He was her protector, even now.